when we're done, if that works for you.
Yeah, sure.
All right. What got you interested in coaching?
Um, Honestly, I want to get better at the game, but I also kind of want to talk about some of my ideas with
Yeah, of course.
just kind of how the game works and strategy and stuff. And I
Sure,
figure, you're you're kind of the strategy guy, so
sure,
it'd be a
sure.
good place to search.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So let's get to the strategy things in just a moment. But your
Hmm.
goal of the session was guidance through replays, some possibly live feedback, um, someone to bounce ideas off of basically what you just said. Rhine Doom Ram for hero pool. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we swapped Ram with Winston,
Yep.
because Ram's just kind of boring to me.
Yeah.
Winston
Yeah.
seems a little bit more fun. So
Right.
yeah, I think we're
Right.
gonna do that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Now you said we. Is that the friend group that you play with?
Um, no, that was just like the singular reap, but
Gotcha.
I
Gotcha.
mean,
Okay.
yeah, I guess my friend group benefits from me playing Winston too.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense, makes sense. So you said you've read the book of Five Rings and Art of War. That's sick.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, okay, okay. Now it really seems like you're involved in like the strategy mindset. Like you want to do this or you want to do that. Like everything's from a strategical game play side of things. And is that why you are associated with the tank role? Is that like kind of was that kind of natural for you in terms of the tank role?
Well, I started in Overwatch 1 in like I think 2017 or something, and had a full stack friend group, uh, and so I was kind of forced to be tank,
Got
and
it.
it was
Okay.
I didn't mind it, like it usually they require less mechanical skill,
Sure.
um, and they're the center of the attention, so that's kind of the basis of it. But it's almost the other way around, where because I've played tank for so long, I've like ventured off into areas where to get better I have to learn strategy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so chicken
Yeah.
or the egg kind of thing.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Goals are eventually to hit top 500, excuse me, implementing strategy when with my favorites and carry your friends to victory. Okay. You want to simplify Doomfist gameplay. Um, you're struggling implementing some of the strategy that you have here, improving your position, greater structure of how a match plays out. So let's talk with your strategic ideas before I delve too much into some of my stuff. You hear me.
Yeah.
You said you had some ideas you wanted to bounce off of me. Run
Hmm.
those by me first. I actually have my notes from the Book of Five Rings and the Art of War pulled up right here.
Okay.
so go ahead.
So first off, I sent you an image. I don't know if you can pull it up at this point, but like
Yep, let me look at it.
it's
I see it.
basically I called it a threat map, but it's like the how effective a given tank is at a certain range. So like as the range goes further away,
Mm-hmm.
like the likelihood you're gonna land a fire strike as Reinhardt is lower. Hog hook's only 30 meters, that kind of thing. So just curious if like you think it would be beneficial for me to make these for different characters, because like I was thinking, in Art of War, there's talk of concentration of force, and you see that throughout history, like making swords, the tip of the point concentrates force,
Right.
arrows, bullets, whatnot. And then, um, as far as concentration of force, if you can line up the sweet spots of certain characters all at the same time, then like there's an area of threat that like the enemy cannot cross, basically,
Right.
or
Right.
they
Right.
get blown up instantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then also if you get outside of that, like either inside or like before it, then you lose out. So I was kind of wanting to bounce off with you, like the interplay between basically optimizing for a given team comp, like if you're pure poke and you're all like the sweet spot is like disjoint, or if you're like just whatever random heroes that are like not synergizing, but you have a wide array of influence. What do you think is better?
Let me stream something really quick here. Let me actually
Okay.
pull up a random replay code just from like I don't even remember playing ranked Tuesday. Maybe it was I don't remember when I played ranked. Oh, I remember what it was. It was stupid OpenQ. I was testing OpenQ health pools. Let me just pull up a random let's just pull up a random rank code here. And I'm going to screenshot something and then I'm going to screen share me drawing over it just to
Okay.
kind of represent what you're talking about here. So let me do this really quick here. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do this and put it in a paint, and then I'm going to stream paint. This is going to be like a 7-step process, so bear with me.
All right.
And then I'm going to make sure the recording picks up paint. And yeah, okay, so can you see this?
Yep.
So basically what you said is like concentration of force by playing effective range. In other words, the spearman plays the spear, the archer plays the archer, the swordman plays the swordman. And in Overwatch, what you do is you have an amalgamation of all these different ingredients all playing their effective range to concentrate their force, essentially.
Yeah.
So for our team, I think the clearest way of drawing that would be our Orisa here would want to be applying pressure somewhere here because that's her effective range. If we could draw it out, this is really where Orisa is effective. Maybe not point-blank melee range, but relatively closer range, right? So then we're going to look to see Orisa rotate here. And then in terms of Coffee, like the Ana player, where is her effective range?
It's probably going to be almost like behind the fire truck, or even further back if she can.
Right. So it's optimally it would probably be somewhere like here, down left here, where she's not engaging in the enemy's spears or arrows, essentially, what we have here with this, right? But let's get a different color so it pops, but she's able to play her effective range here and contribute, again, in this same location here. Sojourn, similar situation here. So I'm going to be peeking here briefly, but as soon as I see that they have a superior concentration of force on this lane here, then I really should rotate where?
You could rotate left to support Ana, or you could use the divider next to Juno.
Yeah. So I could either choose to do a higher risk, higher reward play, which involves more isolation, but a deeper angle here with my Juno, or I could rotate left and go here. Let's just say for the sake of the argument here that it's going to be me going left, the safer play. Okay, so we have, it's a similar angle to the Ana, slightly different. And then finally, that's going to have Juno supporting that / whatever else, right? And then you have your soldier obviously playing here. And you could see if he sees Widowmaker, he can always drop and do the rotation that we kind of talked about earlier for the Sojourn, right? So we have essentially all these points of focus that are all playing their effective range. And what this does is this makes it pretty impossible for the enemy team to rotate through the choke without taking a lot of damage. There's nowhere for them to get cover. One of the classic rotations is you're going to rotate this way. Well, if you rotate that way, you're taking damage from the Orisa, the Sojourn, and the Ana, and the whole way, right? If you rotate through main and push in this way, let me get a better color. If you rotate through this way, you're getting shot in the back by at least the soldier, and then again, crossfire from multiple directions. If you rotate in through the bus stop here, which usually provides cover, you're getting off-angled by the soldier. And this is really what it does, is nobody's compromising their damage output. Nobody's compromising their ability to support each other, because as an Ana or Juno, I can see basically everybody. But we're approaching it from multiple different angles, and that's basically what teamwork is. It's an army composition of cavalry, it's an army composition of pikemen, it's melee units, it's range units, it's siege, it's everything that's contributing. And so a cohesive team composition isn't necessarily everybody that has the same strengths and weaknesses. It's something that complements each other's strengths and weaknesses, right? So for you, kind of going back to like your graph there, like your points of focus, a lot of the times we want to build and position ourselves playing our effective range so that we can maximize the pressure output. And then if we were to build an optimized team composition, it would often have different flavors. Like, for example here, what are the redundant characters in this composition that you feel like, given the situation, may not be optimal on our comp?
Sojourn soldiers probably the most obvious one.
Why is that redundant?
Because they have the same effective range.
Right. So then in terms of if we want somebody to control, like, let's say this angle here, this sight line here, I'm always choosing the worst colors. If I want to choose, I did it again. There you go. Okay, so if we're controlling this space here, we don't have a character that can play that effective range. Give me a character that would play, let's say, instead of the soldier. What would you replace it with?
Maybe Tracer.
Tracer?
That's a pretty safe answer.
That's a safe answer. Get spicier with it. Get spicier with it.
Maybe even Reaper.
Yeah, Reaper. Yeah, exactly. Like, you have somebody that can control that short space, still has mobility. Now, why is Tracer such a safe, easy pick? What is it about the character that makes it really easy to pick?
Because she's hit scan, and she has a lot of mobility.
So what do you mean by hit scan? Because what does hit scan provide?
it it makes it easier to aim at your targets, and you can be more consistent with applying pressure.
That's true. That's true. I'll go more than that though. I don't think that's why she's generally picked. I think it is because of the extreme mobility that you said, and why that's good is because it basically makes the number of angles on the map limitless.
Right.
You look at the number of positions that a Widowmaker can hold. With how many long sightlines are there on this map for attackers?
Probably like 5 in the entire map.
Right. See, this is the trap question, though, because that's the obvious answer, but it's the wrong answer. You see, actually, this is a long sightline. This is a long sightline. This is a long sightline. This is a long sightline.
Okay,
This is a long sightline. Now you're like, yeah, but nobody plays there. Exactly, because she's too slow. Imagine if Tracer had a Widowmaker had 3 blinks.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you would literally be able to play so many different sightlines. The problem is not Widowmaker's range limitations, it's her mobility limitations, whether you're hit scan or not. So Tracer's mobility means that there's always going to be a spot that she can fill while playing her effective range, always, without exception. Whereas even our soldier here, there's really only a couple of angles that he can hold. Like, he doesn't have the mobility to play here. He doesn't have the mobility to really, I mean, he kind of has the mobility to play here, but it's pretty risky, right? So that kind of limits our options. So yeah, obviously replacing soldier, going tracer. Now, you do that with support too. And that's often why we don't always have double, we like to call it flex support comps, right? With double range supports here. So if we were to, like, let's axe the Juno. Juno's gone. What do you replace her with?
I mean, probably Lucio.
Lucio, shorter range, right? Like, let's say that we had like a Lucio Reaper in here, and then everyone's like, oh, Lucio to peel the Ana. Maybe if Lucio Reaper to be able to apply pressure from the small room. Give me another shorter range support.
Brig, maybe.
Brigitte?
Although Brig would probably be playing with Ana.
But that's where you're wrong. Because you're thinking, oh, the Ana's going to be Dove. Where's the Ana going to be playing if we're optimizing her positioning?
Oh, where you were saying before.
Right. So then if Ana's playing here, they're not going to be able to dive her, right? Not safely. So if they're going to set up a dive, how are they going to set up a dive for this location here? What angles must they take?
From inside of the train.
Yeah,
or
from here. Just from
potentially
here.
If they just got like super deep on that one angle.
Yeah, so super deep, right? Yeah. This is usually how it looks. But there's usually some sort of skirmish here. So then I go back to my question, where does the Brig need to play? You kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Honestly, the Brig could play with the Sojourn.
Yeah. So now all of a sudden you all of a sudden have the Brigitte controlling space before the space becomes a problem. And that's usually how high-level Brig is played. If you don't have any space, you play with your backline. If you do have space, you proactively protect that space by controlling a short off angle. And the Brig is really good at that because she's got the shorter range. So she's providing more than, let's say, a Juno in this exact same circumstance. Now, Juno is pretty flexible, which is why we're seeing a lot of these kind of comps even in like higher ranks. Like, this is not a bad composition to play because she can speed and support, and she's pretty flexible with her range, right? But that's just a little food for thought. So kind of going back to your point here, focus of pressure. For a team, it's about everybody finding their spot that makes the most sense. And then it's for you as an individual and solo queue ranked, playing the angle, playing the lane that complements and maximizes your pressure output while taking the least amount of damage. And so when you're playing Ram, you're here. When you're playing Doom, maybe you're here, but maybe you go up here because you have the capability of taking an angle. When you're Winston, similar kind of a thing, right? You're always playing your effective range. Now, last thing here, one other option for an Ana position here is this building here. Even though this doesn't play your effective range, what truth does this say about combat? Even though she's not playing her effective range, why could this potentially work?
Distance isn't always like linear. Basically.
Yes, it's up and down, but it goes even more than that, right? So look at where the pressure would be from Sojourn, right? Orisa, Soldier. So what does this provide? Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, the Ana has protection from the other players that like to get to the Ana, they'd have to go through the other players.
Exactly. And then more than that, she also has yet another angle. So essentially the idea is that when in combat, real life or not, you're allowed to play not your effective range as long as you have the element of surprise.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So we would prefer Anna to have an angle and play effective range. But if you have to choose somewhere that's not your effective range, always make sure that's an angle, which is why it's very common to see supports mispositioned, because if this is plat or gold or silver and the Arista's here, you and I both know where the Anna is, right? She's right here.
Yeah. Yep.
And this is why it's such a sin, because it's not her effective range and she's not in an angle. Move her to here, better. Move her to here, better. Move her to here, oh, well, now we're really cooking. Very safe, but it makes a lot of sense. So that's kind of your choice. So, okay, so that being said, the reason why this is all important for you is to find where is the fight happening, where's the line. I don't like to call it the kill box, but like where is the line of battle, right? Because that might extend all the way to here, here, here. Where are we fighting, right? They come out here, here, or here. And then where is my effective range depending on the character that I'm playing. And characters with mobility, like Tracer, tanks included, just have more choices of how to position. That's it. More choice means more responsibility because your character is balanced around that choice. So Winston will never beat a Reinhardt or a Roadhog in a 1v1 because he doesn't have to take that 1v1. That's the key thing. Okay. Does all that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we pull up your picture here, I would say you don't have to hard memorize everybody's effective range necessarily. You'll grow familiar with that naturally over time. But what you need to do is basically be extremely strong at live, real time, solving where is my effective range translated with the state of the battle right now.
Okay.
And that's the key thing. It's this equivalent of like a great commander-in-chief knowing, what a tank does, what a sniper rifle does, what infantry does, but looking at the state of the battlefield, looking at what the enemy does, and go like, okay, where can we place ourselves for our best chance of victory? And making those real-time decisions, because, this isn't World War I, right? We don't know, everyone's entrenched in an area. That's not how it works. Everything in Overwatch is guerrilla warfare, which means it's unpredictable and requires quick decision-making. Okay, good question. Any other strategic questions?
Yeah, I just had one more question. So I was talking with my friend about the differences between maps and how that often matters more than the like tank matchup or whatever, like counter matchup. And probably that came into my head because I've watched your videos and stuff. But like one of the reasons why like Zarya doesn't do well on Nimbani is because there's a ton of high ground and there's also a ton of lanes.
Yes.
And I was thinking that if there's a lot of lanes, like more than 3, then dive benefits.
Yes. Same
thing with high ground.
Yep.
And if there's fewer than 3 lanes, then poke benefits. You see that on Circuit Royale.
Yep.
'Cause it's basically just like one long choke.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Short range tanks, I think to an extent Brawl as well, depending on the situation, because it means that they don't have to compromise their space control. They can kind of stay grouped more. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
Okay, cool. So I was just confirming that.
Yeah.
And since that went so quick, I was wondering about high ground. So Sun Tzu talks about high ground being, he used an example of like an encampment on a hill who couldn't dig a well because they were stuck there for so long.
Yes.
And basically what I'm getting is like Overwatch has infinite resources, so I feel like there's not an analogy there.
The analogy there is objective. The analogy is the objective. So in other words,
the objective,
prioritizing your position over the objective, which is inappropriate in some situations. So in other words, you have the advantage, but if the enemy team is, it's the same analogy, right? Like when is water a problem? It's when you're able to avoid, the enemy team is able to avoid combat and starve you out. So if the enemy team is able to not engage with your high ground and push the objective. There's a lot of examples of this on maps like Gibraltar, Dorado, to a lesser extent, right? Where you can play to not engage the enemy team's position. And what I would do is I would actually flip that on the head. I would say for attackers, if the enemy team is on the high ground, starve them. Don't engage the high ground, right? Make them go thirsty, essentially, is what you're looking for. Because they want to leverage that positional advantage, but you don't give it to them.
Okay, cool.
The rule is always you decisively push a disadvantage or you don't engage with it at all. Never in between.
Hmm. Sweet. Yeah, that's all the questions I had as far as like strategy stuff before we look at any like replays or anything.
Okay, sounds good. We can look at replays now if you'd like.
Sure.
Do you have any questions about training time and training schedule?
Um, Not particularly. Like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to like slot out more time for myself
Sure.
on
How
the
about the
weekdays.
quality of that time?
Yeah, I can make that better. Like, don't do quick play for like warm-ups ever. And and that kind of thing. But like I feel like as far as my performance in the game, getting just enough games is gonna help. Like I have an alt account that has
Mm-hmm.
purged all the like negative juju. And like I know elo hell isn't a thing, uh, per se, but like if you have played, you know, 1,000 games or however many games, and you've won half of them plus eight, the game's going to be way more confident that you're like a 50-50 as opposed to if you've won 8 games
There's a lot more
total.
volatility in your younger
Yeah,
accounts for sure. And that can be
basically.
both bad and good, but yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
I mean, I would say like you're playing it decent enough right now. Like 10 to 20 hours is not bad for you. I would be just cognizant of that. You're making sure that you're always squeezing the most focus and the most value out of every game that you play, because I think one of the dangers of your approach to things, which is very attractive to me because I love talking strategy, is that you force for the trees, right? Where
Yeah.
there's a lot of emphasis on these esoteric concepts when you're platinum, which it's not that those esoteric concepts don't apply. It's not that those concepts aren't helpful. They are, and they are. But you need to be thinking, okay, well, what can I take from this and actually apply in my game? And honestly, sometimes is that even necessarily the lowest hanging fruit for where I'm at right now? Like, am I warming up effectively? Am I avoiding tilt queuing? Am I having a good mentality about my practice? Am I being patient and consistent with what I'm doing, right? Like, as my hero pool, does it make sense? Do I tilt queue? Do I waste time? Am I playing consistently? Maybe not every day, but as many days as I can, even if it's not for much. Those are like all the boxes that you have to check that most people screw up.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we don't have to beat on that, but I think like you need to be revisiting that, because I have had students before that are very strategically minded. In fact, one of my good friends is very strategically minded, mid-gold Brigida one trick.
Okay. Yeah.
And he knows every break point. Shout out to Brax, and he's a good friend of mine. And I have a ton of playing with him, but
Hmm.
he a lot of it is his mistakes are just he makes the silliest mistakes while overthinking the situation. So,
Yeah.
if your goal is top 500, then that needs to not be you. If your goal is to just enjoy the game and learn it strategically, then nobody gives a crap.
Hmm. Well, I'd like to do both, of
All
course.
right, well, that's my recommendation for both then.
Cool.
Any other questions here?
Um, I I guess I just ask you to pay attention to my Doomfist gameplay because like I feel like when I'm on a hot streak with Doomfist, I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
Like definitely better than Plot.
Okay.
As far as the mechanics go, now like positioning, maybe not. And that's another thing is like I feel like if I want my aim to be really good and like my mechanics to be really good, it's going to ape my strategy and positioning
Sure.
personally. So what I was really looking for today's maybe some like consolidation of mechanics for Doomfist to make it so it's not as mentally stressful to focus on the mechanics, and I can think
Yes.
about bigger things like, oh, I need to jump to high ground here so my team can move up or whatever.
What I will say
Um,
is that like my goal can be that like I've been doing this with a lot of different characters actually in recent sessions, which is just like give you the 2 or 3 ways of breaking down your mechanics to work on them.
cool.
You still should be working on your mechanics in ranked games, but what you
Hmm.
could do is you can go in a little bit more deliberately of like what am I actually practicing? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Instead of just like I'm practicing mechanics, like what does that actually mean? Okay. Which one do you want to look at here to start?
Let's start with the loss. It's the most recent one, I think.
Junkertown?
That uh, is that what I sent in? I meant the most recent one is in um, no, it would be Shambali.
Shambolic? Gotcha. Okay, let's get
Yeah.
that up really fast here. So with Doom, there's a couple of mechanics. Like let me just kind of show you really fast. I'll just go and jump in the practice range. Are you in stream, by the way? Because I restarted it.
Yeah,
So
I'm watching it.
okay,
I might not have played Doom here. It was probably. Oh yeah. This one it was mostly Winston. I played Rhine halfway through. Because they went Hog and McCree and Bastion, and I was just like,
Yeah, I got you.
I'm not gonna lose gray hair over this.
Yeah. So there's really, I think, 3 mechanics with Doomfist that we'll start as like the fundamentals of the character, and we'll start with the most basic, boring one, which is essentially don't just use your abilities brainlessly. And I'm not just saying about like which ability to use, because that really goes more into like your engagements and your cooldown management. But in terms of when I'm pressing slam, I need to make sure that I'm hitting the target that I'm hitting. As dumb as that sounds, like have deliberate emphasis on what you're doing. And the same thing goes with punch. Like don't just use punch, like what I did right there, right? Like how on earth did I miss it? Because I'm not locked in. And you would be surprised if you went through the number of punches that you miss in a game due to you just not putting emphasis on hitting the punch. You'll probably call out like 15 or 20% of your punches. 15-20% are going to miss because you just misread or aren't good enough, but 15-20% are just because you weren't paying attention enough, and that's actually like inexcusable, right? Like you need to not do that ever, if that makes sense. Okay. So that's number 1. As dumb as it sounds, just keep brain on with punch, especially. The second mechanic thing to practice, and this one is, I guess, a little bit more specific to Doomfist, is being very deliberate with your shots and not just spamming your shots. So there's a tech here where you can utilize, where you can you can squeeze shots out in between your abilities. I'll try to demonstrate that really quick. So what I'll do is I'll slam here. And you can see I get just a couple of shots before, and you can actually animation cancel it here. So what I'll do is I'll slam, and you can see the shot into the punch. You see that?
Yeah.
Watch very carefully to my ammo at the bottom right. So slam, and I'm already chambering the shot as I'm hitting the ability. Okay?
So you're buffering it, basically?
Yes, I'm buffering it, exactly. So what you could do is you can also do this with punch as well. So like as the punch is landing, I'm landing that. But I like it better with slam. It's a little bit easier because oftentimes when you're slamming, you're more likely to be landing near that target. So one more time here. And so you don't even need to buffer into the next punch. I think it's just good to have shot buffered after slam, period. Now, that's the devil side of things, okay? The angel side of things is don't abuse this and work on your trigger discipline. Are you familiar with that term?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a classic one, because what I sometimes have is I have students that are really obsessed about the buffering. They're like, I really want to get that buffer tech down, right? But what ends up happening is then a lot of their ability usage, their shot usage looks like this, and they just dump it all, right? So in this one, ironically, is probably the most important one, because I think the large portion of your damage is going to come from your shotgun. And so, practice the buffer tech. I think that's a good one to like have in your back pocket, to be able to do pretty thoughtlessly, right? But be really specific about your shots. Don't rush your shots. That's how you need to be training your shots. I think the vast majority of Doomfists from Masters and below rush their shots, and they miss so many shots, and they don't practice their mechanics effectively as a result. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So number 1, be deliberate and specific with your ability usage in terms of your mechanics. Number 2, be deliberate and specific with your shots, okay? We'll skip 3 to 2 for right now. So be deliberate and specific with your shots, trigger discipline, right? Ability discipline, trigger discipline, and finally, if you want to get some fancy tech stuff, just be really good at chambering your shot after slam. That's pretty much it. Now, the other aspect of your mechanics is more about knowing the character. Obviously, there's lots of text that you can work on, but we're not going to get as invested on those. There's plenty of videos on those. If you have any questions about any text, just let me know, all right?
Yeah. Oh, one thing on Doomfist. So when you're engaging, I've heard it said that you need at least 2 cooldowns. Is that true?
No. There's always an exception to the rule, right? Like, I mean, we'd like you to have 2 cooldowns. Yeah. That's usually optimal. Is that a rule that I'd give a beginner on Doomfist while, they're starting to learn Doomfist? Sure. But you're not a beginner, right?
Yeah.
Use your judgment. Let's see if there's Doomfist here, if it's Wednesday.
It'd be near the end.
Okay, it'd be near the end. We could skip around
Yeah,
too. Like
yep,
we can
yep,
we can
there's
do
Doomfist.
portions of different heroes. Okay, let's take a look here. Any other specific questions with Doomfist?
No, I think you'll probably learn enough
Got it.
about what I need just from watching.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah. So I guess just keep note of those 3 things. You can work on those 3 things in ranked. You can work on those 3 things, honestly, even in like a Vaxta code for a couple of minutes. Not the best, but it's there. Okay.
So here I'm looking for a drop punch.
Yep, makes sense. Like one of the few times you can actually charge your punch. So this is a question of consistency and convenience. The most consistent thing you can do for damage output is to punch stuff that's close to you. Yeah. So I think you kind of lose focus because you get booped, but you really, really, really have to trust yourself to be able to hit this kind of a punch. Whether it's on Juno, Moira, Bastion, Pharah, I don't care. But there's like, this is really bad. Not just because, oh, the Rissa fortified. Oh, no. It's because look at where you're, look at where you're putting, exactly. You needed, this is your playground, right? This is high ground, it's short sightlines, you got your supports, it's perfect, right?
So you think I should have like tried to do a wall punch or something?
Yep, wall punch would have been fine here, or even
right
pivot,
side?
flip your camera and trust your mechanics. You know, if you get it wrong, it's okay. Try again next time, right?
Yeah.
Always go for the strategically sound play, even if it's mechanically hard. Because if you're not good enough to do it mechanically right now, you will be with practice. Now, from here, a little bit of feedback here. Whenever you charge punch at any distance like this, the only time you really charge your punch, even with charged punch, is when you have cover or are doing a draw punch.
Okay.
So you get your punch here. This needs to be tapped. This needs to be either slam first, then tap, or charge it just enough to be able to reach him and punch him into the wall. If you charge this at this much, you're dead.
Yeah, you're going to see it a lot.
That's a good general rule, though, right? That's a really important general rule. I see this all the time. Most Doomfists in higher ranks just tap punch unless they can do so safely. It's just not worth the damage. Okay. That being said, your initial setup was good. Nice. Set up. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Take the angle, right? Sure. Walk. Do it quickly. Now this is where you can charge punch.
Yeah.
Right, because you have the safety to do so. I think you're a little late here is the problem. And then obviously you turn your camera a little bit too much. And then obviously just, I mean, well, I guess you just faded, right? But
yeah.
This is where I would have had a little bit more urgency in setting up. But beyond that, okay. That's what we want to see. You see the difference there?
Yeah. The only reason I didn't fully charge is because I knew like I would die on.
Right, but right. But it's still like the results will speak for themselves, right? There you go. So despite that fight going really poorly, now in terms of mechanics beyond that, it's mostly just, you know, hit your shots. Crosshair placement, for example, on this one, I think you're pretty much dead no matter what you do here.
Yeah.
But then you short slam there, which is fine.
Right.
You charge your punch a little bit too long, and so obviously you're going to be dead. Would that have changed the result of this? No. But it's worth pointing out. Keep going. That being said, the good news is the angle that you set up from and your initial engage was pretty good. I mean, you got javelin out of your slam, which kind of sucked, but like that was fine.
Yeah.
Good. And again here, this approach should be pretty good. You going from here because your team is going top right is also fine as well. Again, you can charge punch this if you'd like to. I like this. I like this better, frankly, because this is going to spook them. You're going to be able to back out. You're going to get the cooldowns that you need, and then you're going to be able to land the punch anyway. It's actually kind of unfortunate that you didn't like fully collide with the Bastion, so you couldn't get the follow-up shots. But it's still a good punch, right? Like, this is still a good punch. And this is a good example of, like, just where Doomfist can take the frontline trade. Why?
Not just because I made with me, because I have my supports safe right behind that wall.
That's true. That's true. But it goes, if you want to be like, and you're the strategy guy, so I'm gonna expect more from you. Look at the setup, right? What made you go this way to begin with?
Oh, because they're all right next to the window.
Right. You actually have an angle from your team. So there's no point for you taking the angle because the angle is main.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So like now you need to be cautious about what happens after this, right? Like you might want to play from here and then maybe play from here, but like this is all fine. Like Doom doesn't mind tank trades. Doom needs to be at an angle, but Doom doesn't mind tank trades. So if your angle happens to be the tank, that's fine. It's fine. This is like offensive. One other thing as well, and I'm going to throw some micro your way. Yeah. If you have the HP for it, dump every single freaking shot that you can. Let me give you a hint. Your damage doesn't get better than it gets right here. Like when you're at like basically 5 meter range with shots in your weapon, it just doesn't get better in terms of your damage output. So just even though you have ultimate, you have the HP, dump the shotgun clip. Dump it. Dump it first, right? And honestly, if you wanted to min-max your pressure output right now, what should you have done instead of ult?
Clear out my shotgun.
Yes.
Then block.
Yes.
Shotgun's filling up. Then empowered punch. Then ult. Drop on them. Empowered punch again.
Close with one exception. You fill up your shotgun with your block, punch, then shoot again. Then ult.
Yeah, okay.
You would have come to that conclusion. You're just forgetting steps. It's like an RPG run on a boss that you can't figure out, where you're trying to like squeeze out the number of times you can use that one cooldown, you know? Like that's basically what you're doing here. There's no real threat. You don't have any HP problems, but yeah, exactly. Like your job is like you need to increase your pressure cycle to absorb attention for longer. It's not just about doing more damage because, okay, maybe you're right. Ult here more than shots, maybe, if we're being technical. But you know what I mean, right? This is where you can sustain, and then obviously dropping without really having any confirmation that you're actually land. I mean, that Bastion should be dead here, right? Like we should land on Bastion, we should punch the Bastion, and then the Bastion will die, right?
Yeah. Just real quick, my reasoning for not going for the Bastion was just basically, he's out of the fight, might as well pick off people who are...
Yes, the only reason I would go for the Bastion here is if you had landed on him, he would have been 1 HP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now this is the correct play. This is 100% the correct play. But you should have landed on him, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Now, hey, check out your punches here. Now, again, you did this because of the ult, I assume, first. But, I mean, look at the results, right? And not only did you get the punch, but you got the shot follow-up.
Yeah, true.
I mean, that's pretty right there. That is beautiful right now. Now do that with Slam 2 and we're cooking. This I hate. Watch carefully if you can spot the mistake here. You see it? Watch your shots.
Shooting at nothing.
Shooting at nothing and look.
And I was aiming for the tank.
And look, well, I mean that's not always bad either, right? But obviously fortified wrist is probably not so good. But the big thing here is that like it's a bad mechanical habit, but more than that's a waste of resources. I mean you're going in now. We need 4 shots. We need 4 shots right now. So this commitment is obviously pretty risky, but if you got shots, again, situation probably a tap punch would have been appropriate, but hey, good stuff. This is where this hero's really fun, you know? It's just so much fun. Yeah, this is all fine. This is all fine. Okay, this is all fine. Nice job. Let's keep going. I don't want to like draw any major conclusions here. I'd like to look at several more minutes if that works for you.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions so far?
No. I mean, this has all been great.
Okay. Mostly singular mistakes. Inconvenient engages. I'm trying to think where we went from here. Dumping your clip, right? I think a little bit of trigger discipline, overcharging punch, stuff like that. So I wouldn't say there's been any repeat errors yet. This guy just doesn't care, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Whatever, man. Okay. I like this. This is cute. Now, this is interesting here. This is interesting because you look at this and you're like, oh, I charged punch. It felt like you charged punch to wait for yourself to drop. So you weren't floating in midair. You notice that? Watch carefully.
Yeah.
So like here, it's like, oh, you should tap punch. Well, I think you just missed the punch if you tap punch here. right?
Yeah.
So this one I'm okay with, but you can see even though you had a good reason to hold punch, it's still going to you're still not necessarily even going to finish off the kill, right? Tap punch there, that's what we want to see. That's what we want to see. Maybe it was just a freak accident. Maybe you're actually pretty good at recognizing it. Good stuff. Good angle approach, double CDs. You had what you needed to get in and get out. Now, yeah, I was going to say, you're going to have to be smart here. Because your team is stuck in this choke. If you sit here, unless you really do a good job with your front line trades, and sometimes even then, you're going to be stuck here. Where do you need to be?
Far right.
Far right, you need to use the cooldown, pull attention this way, and then get out. Create an opportunity for you guys to get a pick. Give me another angle.
Left side.
Left side, walk, left, shoot, punch, slam, block, just sit in the room even, right? Again, pulling attention away from this Ana, the Moira. Your Moira can DPS. You got all sorts of angles here. Do not stand in this choke. I mean, that's a great punch, but like that's just not going to work consistently, even in plat, right? Like you can see it here, bam, look at the damage that you're taking, and again, look at where the damage is being vomited, right? You need to create your own lane, if possible. And as long as it doesn't take you too long to set up, right? We're not hard flanking here, right? That's the key thing.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay. Okay, all good, all good, all good. Okay, let's do this. All right, I'm ready for it. Now this is ego, right? This is a bit of hubris. You know, it works if you hit the shots, right? You see an opportunity, you want to go for it. You think maybe they're down one. You're okay here if you hit the shot.
Yeah. As soon as I saw myself jump up there in the video, I was like, oh shoot, I'm gonna bolt out of here.
And heck, I'll go more than that, right? Like maybe there wasn't even a need to ultimate in the first place. Full HP. I know you had no CDs, but no full HP. Something to consider. Okay, let's see here.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Okay. I don't know why you would go Reaper in this situation. Unironically might be the worst DPS you could play here, literally. But, you know, Tank Buster,
yeah. So. Yeah. And then I was telling people, like, let's go right side here.
Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. Now, from where you go from here is crucial, right? So... I mean, this is I think a great example of like why this can't work, because I mean, look at how much you did here. Big slam, big punch again, and big slam as well. I think here. I mean, you build up 60% ult in one fight, right? The problem is there's no teeth in it because nobody in your team has an angle here. So if you're ready for something saucy here, what should you do with your slam here?
Use it to go to that corner right next to the Orisa. Maybe.
You got me?
Yeah.
Because what's their response going to be?
They're gonna look at me.
They're gonna look at you.
Turn their back to my team.
And turn your back to your team. So then they're basically opening themselves up to being pushed this way. Now, what happens if they ignore you? Well, then you skip the Orisa and you go right for the back line from an angle, back to the wall. Right? Simple as that. That's all it is. Like it's the same thing that you were missing on this first corner here too. Right? It's the same exact thing. We don't want you to flank. We don't want you to flank. Too long, unnecessary. Take the angle and then shoot either tank or shoot backline. Up to you.
Yeah.
This situation here, it's too late. They've backed off. Like, I don't think this is a mistake. I mean, if anything here, just slam it all in and pray that you get the shot. But like at this point, it's too late. The damage has been done.
And then after that, I think...
Yeah. Let's look at do you have another Doomfist code? One of these a Doomfist code? The Samoa?
I think Samoa is not one. Let's see. What did I send you?
Even Junkertown, if there's...
Junkertown, I think I played Doomfist.
Let's
probably going to be like 2/3 of the way through.
That's fine. Let's look at a little bit here. Oh, yeah, we already have this
I
one.
usually don't start playing Doomfist just because like I've been trying to practice Winston. But then if we start losing or doing worse, I'm like, Whatever, I'll go Doomfist. And
All
these
right.
are all examples of me when I'm like pretty fresh. But I feel
Okay,
like
good.
Doomfist um takes more out of me than like playing Reinhardt. I could play Reinhardt like all night.
Yeah, I mean, there's more boxes to check, right? Like more skills to work.
Yeah.
Might
Yeah.
also be that you're just more experienced with Reiner. I've played it for a longer period of time.
Not necessarily. They're about the same.
Okay.
Um,
Ooh.
yeah.
Really watch the clip dumping. Not only in your aim, but also like just dumping the shots unnecessarily. Just don't get in the habit. Be deliberate with every shot that you take. What do you think? What do you see here?
I cannot hit the Life Weaver.
Right, that's the obvious answer, but I'm looking for a habit here. Does this look familiar?
Yeah, I'm lost. Sorry.
You can't fully charge this here.
Oh,
You're
yes.
dropping directly in front of the entire enemy team. Now you're like, oh, I'm drop punching. You're not drop punching from angle. You know there's 4 people here, right? At least, if not
Right.
5, right? This is how you get blown up. This is how you get blown up. Drop punching and charging. How should you approach this engage instead?
I should have just tap punched for movement to get to the Life Weaver and then like get behind him and
Yep.
make him basically and use point for cover.
Yep,
while
yep,
fighting.
you got it. You got it. Like, just tap punch to close the distance, right? Like, ultimately, a lot of your damage is going to be coming from your weapon anyway. So just tap punch to close the distance, take as little damage as possible, put the punch on cooldown sooner so you can get it back sooner, get the cycle of pressure going now. Obviously, you end up missing it, but then you don't even properly close the distance and end up taking about 200 unnecessary damage. Now here, you might as well, if we look at your punch with a Reaper, because it's a similar situation where you're not going to hit the punch if you don't charge it, right? So there's no point tapping it now because you're already on top of his head, right? You're not trying to close the distance with the Reaper. You're staying on cart. So you might as well drop the punch while you're dropping. I mean, we've seen that, right? You might as well charge the punch while you drop, excuse me. So we'll keep going. Good. Good. Little tap punch action there. Don't spam shots here. Where should you go?
I should jump to the exit sign there.
Yes. Take the top left angle, put some shots, and then look for a drop punch from here, right? That's going to have infinitely more space creation value and chance of a kill than what you're going to do now, which is going to be slam on main, punch on main.
I'm gonna be honest. I meant go
Ooh.
under.
Oh, under.
Yeah.
I prefer height just because of vision of your supports, but honestly,
Right.
like, this is still an angle, right? So, also, you impressed me. I had so little faith in you. My mistake.
You convinced me. You know.
Yeah, I guess so. That the coaching really is incredible, honestly. You can go back in time and fix your issues. Same thing with the shots here. Be careful. This is fine. Coach yourself in this execution, though. Make this a lot cleaner. What do you do?
Wait until I have 4 shots,
Yeah.
and then turn around, see if my team can follow up.
I mean, they can, right? I mean, you see your cast, right? That's probably all the information you need.
Okay. Drop punch.
Yes.
If I can.
Drop punch if you can. I don't see any reason for you to go back this way. In fact, I would prefer you to even use your slam to get to here and try something saucy from here. Might as well.
Yeah.
This isn't a flank. You're already there. Like, this takes no time, right? Drop punch from here, punch them this way, take the angle. The reason why this is not as good is because it's obvious. And this is also where they're already under cover. You see that?
Right.
So it ends up being a pretty nice engage, and definitely one of those, oh, you used too many cooldowns at once. Nah, it's fine. It's totally fine. But from a mechanical standpoint, you're going to have a better chance of actually securing kills. You really have to aim your ults, mate. Like, I know it's inconsistent, but... And I know why you ulted, right?
Yeah.
You
To
know
get
what?
my cooldowns back, I think, and just continue
you know
to
what?
fight and try to win.
Yeah. I get it, because you saw Juno. You know what? I'm going to cut you some slack. Disregard.
No, I have a bad habit of not aiming it. You're totally right. Because
All right.
I basically have accepted the fact that like as soon as people see the red dot, they're gonna just like walk off of it. So I might as well just secure the 50 damage and get my cooldown and like set up so I'm not right on top of them, and I
Sure.
can aim an empowered punch. Or
I mean,
something. That's just my mentality.
you could even look at this and be like, take the 50 damage, but like, what if you don't want to take the 50 damage? What if you want to land here and try again? What if you want to land here instead? You know, so not just being deliberate about how you're landing it on the person, but like, what if you don't want to land it on a person? What could you do instead? Nice shots.
Man, I have such trouble hitting Juno because she's like in the air.
She's squishy, yeah.
And when she 80 strafes, I know you've said that like she has a big hitbox, but like, dude, when she 80 strafes in the air.
Yeah, I would say
just
she's
so
a
hard
big
to hit.
hitbox. I just say she doesn't have a Kiriko hitbox. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. Just slow it down. Just slow it down. Nice. And that's again a situation where charging opponents is fine, right? Why? Because you don't have an immediate target right now, right?
Yeah.
So then you're like, oh, I see Doom, and he gets smoked. I don't know why you're tunneling this guy. There's an Ashe literally right behind you. That's
I guess
okay.
I figure, you know, like if the Doomfist low, I can burn both of his cooldowns. I'm confident that I can beat him in the 1v1, and then no
Sure,
tank
but
means that
yeah. But this isn't a 1v1. That's kind of my point, right? Like this is what you have here. You got to get what I'm saying. So your priority needs to be for your own life is to deal with these issues first, because it's going to take less effort for you to, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to focus tank if that's what's convenient. It's okay to focus DPS if that's what's convenient. We've kind of talked about that a little bit already.
Yeah. Punching 65 HP.
Yeah. Well, it's also like at this point in time, like I mean, I guess if you could cancel that, that would be great. But like, you got to be thinking about your setup here too. So take top, mate. You know, take top. I think this is okay as well. Okay, okay, this is good. This is good. Actually, I lied. So look at the angle that you are from here. Look at like, you see this?
Yeah.
Right. This is kind of what we want. So if you don't have the time to take top, I think this is good. Let's look at the mechanics here. With like a shot there. So if you weave this here, punch, shoot. Oh no, you got a shot in. You got a shot in. I'll give you some credit. It's like the third time you've proven me wrong today. I'm gonna retire. But yeah, maybe the rule here is just be a little bit more deliberate with your shot. You know, because you obviously split the difference here. Good. But yeah, nice engage. I mean, that's where the double CD makes sense, right? Because you use a CD and then use another CD to get to a different angle with cover. So they can't really push you. Now you definitely grab Meg and go top. Yeah, see? Look at that, so big. I mean, look at how easy that is, right? So like, how many times have you not done this, right? But then now when you do it, like you commit on an angle, there's your drop punch. You can charge it because you're coming from the drop. I mean, you literally are going to get a 2K off of this if you're a little bit better, right? Yeah. So that's perfect. Yep, it's fine. It's worth the risk. Do it. And this is where a lot of practice comes into play, right? Sometimes I notice.
Charge that.
Right, but also you lose the slam too. You notice that? So I'm noticing sometimes you lose the target that you're slamming on. So here, it needs to be, he's moving left. You're like, oh, where'd he go? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? You slam this, you don't even need to punch, right? Just something to practice. Just something to it's the first point that we talked about mechanically, which is being very specific of what you're doing with your mechanics. Like, where's the target? Where do I want to go? Okay. Set up, set up, set up, set up. Take it, take it, take it, take it. None of this nonsense. Especially once you have punch, let's set up. Yeah. There you go. Good plan, bad placement. Make one small adjustment to be a millionaire. What do you got?
The other side, punch him into my team.
Yeah. This one trick turned me in from, yeah, exactly. That's literally one trick is gonna turn you a diamond right here. Like because this setup is perfect. So then what you do is you let them walk a little further, and then you just drop punch, and then they're all dead. So yeah. That being said, it's good.
I don't really think a whole lot when I'm playing.
Yeah,
if you can believe it.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Well, that's the thing is like you're playing a pretty fast-paced, instinctual character. Yeah. So when we give you something to think, what I would be framing something that you need to practice is stage on your short angle and approach from an angle if possible.
Okay.
That's kind of like the simple. Don't work on your positioning. That's too vague, right? Don't worry about taking high ground. That's too that's not like that doesn't mean anything, right? Instead, work on when you have the chance to stage and look for an angle. But no flanks. That's the rule. We'll say no flanks. Like, is that always the case? No, but let's just pretend that's the case. All right. When you're working on your mechanics, we're going to say keep an eye on like tap punch when appropriate. Tap punch when appropriate. That's all you're going to look over. Is when should I tap punch? When should I not? That's all you're thinking about, right?
Yeah.
So, or your slam cancel mechanics as well, right? So, I think for you, it's just like you said, you don't think a lot, and I think that's normal for most Doomfist players, considering how fast he is. But we want to accelerate your process of improvement by correcting some of these habits where your instincts have failed. Because your instincts have failed, right? Like otherwise you'd be top 500, right?
Right.
Like even here, like I don't think this is a big deal, but your instinct said ult, but I'm saying slam, right? I'm saying use your power block and like finish the slam, finish the bastion, power block, then ult the last possible second. So that, again, you can min-max your pressure output while still guaranteeing the kill on Bastion. And slow down your shots. Okay. You're too far forward in front of your team here, I think. Just checking where your team's positioned. This is kind of the problem here. Right. Where should you stage instead?
That little high ground there, above the mega.
Yeah, like here.
Yeah, or potentially the high ground where like Ana might set up for like right when they take first point.
Like here?
No, no, right there. Yes.
Yeah. And just basically let them walk into here a little bit more. Yeah, you got it. Because you're gonna die for that. I mean, you're definitely gonna die for that. Oh my goodness gracious, that is the biggest support pocket I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, I mean that is a huge ent, right? Because all of these resources being poured into you, and you notice that you didn't force a single cooldown.
Yeah, I'm just wasting all of the resources.
Because you're not a threat, right? Because you're not really a threat. Because it's a 1v3 at this point in time, 1v4. So that's why you're not forcing CDs here. If this all happened here, the enemy team would be dead.
Yeah.
Now, the good news is that by the time they nano, you're kind of here, but my goodness, how low do you get? 27 HP. That is an insane nade and nano from your Ana.
Yeah.
And they keep you up! Oh my goodness, no way. How low do you get? I'm guessing 8?
No, 27 again. Oh, 15.
15. 4. You went to 4.
Yeah.
Right. So that one was like, I actually don't think that the fact that you were on an angle or high ground was bad. I think whenever you find yourself staring down the barrel of a choke with the entire enemy team you're looking at, that's probably because you're playing the wrong angle.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a red flag. Hey, buddy, you're kind of playing by yourself.
Yeah. And the silver lining here is like, I could feel that I was consuming a ton of resources for my supports. Yeah. I was like,
yeah.
You know, this would probably get punished in a higher elo.
Well, it's going to get punished in plat too, right?
Yeah.
It's going to get punished in plat.
It would be like instantaneously punished. I wouldn't have been
able
to escape.
Yeah. What basically here's where you're at. This is why you're platinum. Where are you in plat? Plat 2, 3, 1, 4?
4.
4. Okay.
Yeah.
Plat 4, you're going to get punished for this 55% of the time. That's why you're in plat. Because you're losing games because 55% of the time that you do this, you lose the fight. In silver, you get punished for it 40%. But you have to win more than what you're doing right now to improve. So you always ask, like, not whether would this get punished in higher ranks or not, although that's, if you really want to fix an issue, that's fine. But it needs to be, was that good or was that bad? And then correct that. Because in higher ranks, they won't always punish your mistakes either. But the goal is still, like, this whole fight, you've just really never been set up. Because your initial setup was cheeks. So I don't even care as much about your mechanics here because you've never really been in a position of value. You've never been in a position of space. And it's not because, you're tank trading. It's because you weren't on an angle. You can actually win the Orisa 1v1 with a little bit of support. Because a supported Orisa versus a supported Doomfist, oftentimes if the Doomfist plays it well, you can force way more healing in the Orisa than vice versa, right?
Yeah.
But you got to do it from a good angle. Like even here, right? Like as soon as you possibly can, where did you need to be here?
High ground.
High ground left, right? So top
Yeah.
left, either top left or top right. Let them walk. Nobody cares. Or if you aren't going to let them walk, then you can't be here. If you really want to spawn camp, where do you need to be?
In the under alley, like right
Yeah.
next to Mega.
You have to go crazy. Like you got to go all the way in. Like you got to go in, maybe here, and go from there, and then pray that your team walks forward, because then you'll pull some resources. Then you can maybe kill the Orisa. Now I don't think that's smart here. I think probably like let them come in and play your high ground here. But
Yeah.
this doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. How important is it to get onto high ground if none of my team is there?
Very important. Very important still. Yeah, your supports will still be able to heal you from low ground, and you might encourage them to take high ground with you. But even if your entire team is here, this is still the staging for you, or this is still the staging for you. You can really mess up that Bastion, Reaper, Orisa, whatever you want from here. And then if they ignore you, you can always stage and wrap this way. If they don't ignore you, well, then that's fine. Rotate away from you.
Okay. And I think we're over on time.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Wait, let's finish this up if you're down.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I just had a question on Reinhardt, just like a really short one.
Yeah. Let's look at some Ryan then. Did you have a fight or two you want to look at? We could look at a couple extra fights.
I didn't have one in specific, but like as far as Reinhardt, is it smart to force high ground in that situation, even if other people aren't there? Because like I can't do that much on high ground as Ryan.
Yes. So that's your question answered right there. Do you remember the very first thing that we talked about, right, with the Art of War, right, which was everybody's playing their effective range and providing value output through that, correct? Yeah. So when you clear high ground, do so with the intention of either A, I'm going to push somebody that is currently on high ground and hit them with my hammer, or B, somebody is going to try to take this high ground away from me, which will give me the opportunity to hit them with my hammer.
Oh, okay.
And if the answer is, I don't know if they're going to push this, then don't be there. So if we look at this exact situation, let's actually go back here. Where would you play if you're Reinhardt here? Let's see if you can figure this out. Okay, let's go to the approximate fight here. It's right here. Okay, so where would a Reinhardt want to go here?
I probably would want to be in that lower room and just swinging on that corner.
You could, or here, right? Swinging on the corner.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the crazy answer? Go top.
On the high ground?
Because there's somebody there. Hit them with your hammer, get them out. And then if you're like, okay, well, there's nobody to hit me in the hammer anymore. I'm just standing here and shield botting. I'm not doing anything. Okay, then drop, leave your team unshielded, and pull resources and pressure here.
Yeah. And when I play Ryan, a lot of times when I go high ground, or really any character, when I go high ground, sometimes the opposing team will just like be like bots and just like seed space.
Yeah.
For my team. Is that gonna be true like all the way up, or is that just like
they will contest you for it? Yeah, they'll contest you for it for sure. But them contesting you for it is still value, because if they're contesting you for it, then that high ground position is not being leveraged onto your backline. It's being leveraged onto you.
No. I mean, like, so envision you're on Havana attack as Diva.
Yes.
You fly up to high ground.
Yes.
Maybe you, like, push a Baptiste off or whatever.
Sure.
The opposing team all moves back away from the corner, like the primary corner.
I see.
Does that kind of thing happen all the time, or is that only like at my rank?
It happens pretty consistently. Like the thing is like if they can't contest you and clear you out of the top right, then they really don't want to play where you could just drop and annihilate them.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're going to rotate away from you, which then means that, okay, now I'm not getting any value. Wait, my team just cleared the first corner. Yes, I am. Your challenge is going to be, what's the next step? Like, let's say that you took top here and they all ran away over to cart. You then either decide, do I need to take an action and keep chasing to clear, or do I just wait for them to walk under me again?
If I was Reinhardt, I'd just sit there and just keep
I
swinging
think so
on
too.
that
I
corner.
think I think if you're any tank, I would just sit here. And the reason is because this is just so far away with where my backline is, right? It just
Yeah.
doesn't feel very comfortable, right? But like let's say my backline was a lot more proactive, then maybe I could go play here,
Hmm.
right? As
The
no
only time
Doom
I
or
would like
Rein.
drop. The only time I'd drop in and like int is if like the team was split and they're like stuck beat after like
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
door closes or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Let's watch a little bit more from like a Rein and a Doom perspective here. So we win this. I think we win this. You notice that you're not taking any verticality space, not just to deny the
Yeah.
enemy team, but also because it's so much cozier to set up on this stuff from here. Right? What even if you're gonna pull the Orisa, like drop punch, fine, drop punch your Orisa then, right? And by the
Yeah.
way, this is what happens when you don't contest high ground. You give the enemy team this positioning to be a huge issue. Now, this is a good punch from you, but obviously people still die. It's fine. Nice res. Yeah, see, given where your team is, this aggressive hold seems much better. This is fine. Look at the angle you have here, right? Look at the angle you have here,
Yeah.
right? They put attention on you, your Torp shoots for free. They put attention on your Torp, you shoot for free. And then from here, you just shoot Orisa because that's all you can reach, and it's fine. I mean, you could just do a punch on this Orisa right now and force fortify, right? You could do a punch on backline if you want. I mean, look at this. Like, this is a huge waste of time. Look at your HP.
Yeah.
Look at that. All those resources, and look at how free you are. Look at absolutely how free you are. Your DPS are just completely angling for free, and that's all the follow-up that you need. So the only mistake here is just...
Punched too much.
Like, this is always going to be a greedy play. Let's put it that way. This is always going to be a greedy play because it's your last CD. You don't have ult. I don't even think the charging of the punch was too bad. You needed to probably to kill the Juno, but again, like, look at the space you're creating. Like, look at this.
Yeah. Oh, I was actually yelling expletives right here because I was like, "What the heck? It's impossible to cancel Kyrie ult."
Yeah,
It's so
yeah, you
BS.
can't. Yeah,
Which
it
I
is.
feel like it kind of is BS, but
It is. I mean, I think this is fine. This was always going to be a high risk, high reward play because you guys didn't have an ult or didn't use an ult, and they did. So yeah, it still works.
Yeah.
I actually don't have a problem with what you did there. It was leaning into the high risk, high reward things, which means mechanics is always going to matter. Where do you need to be?
on high ground.
Yeah, left or right. Why high ground? Like, why do we keep going to high ground? Because a lot of times high ground's really bad for Doom, but why is it good here?
Because it's right next to them.
Yes.
It's an off angle.
It provides
makes
the
them turn
proximity.
around,
It provides
or
that
look up or
proximity.
whatever.
Exactly. It provides that proximity. Like, it's not just because high ground is good because high ground is because it provides the ability to get close without using a CD to commit, right? You have to use a CD to get here, but then you can kind of chill and then drop punch or do whatever you want. I mean, you could even just drop shoot. I really want to see, because you're kind of on an angle here, but it's a far angle. You see the problem here? So every cooldown that you use to commit here is going to be a question of, I don't know if this is going to hit. Like, that's a gamble, right? That's a further punch than it needed to be.
Yeah.
You're still dancing on angles, I think, for the most part, which has been pretty good, but you're not always using what the map provides to. So let's take some notes here. Doomfist. Both micro and macro. Give me 3 or 4 things to practice individually, specifically. What do you got?
Oh, so I thought you were jotting them down.
No.
So I took notes.
Well, actually, I don't
So-
need to take notes. You just read your notes to me. Let's start with
Yeah.
that.
So shoot between abilities to buffer it. That's a tech that you taught.
Yes.
Trigger discipline. So basically, don't mag dump just for dopamine or whatever.
Yep.
Strategically sound over mechanically easy, and that's as far as like positioning and outlook towards the game.
Yep.
And then don't overcharge empowered all the time. Tap punch when you have empowered most of the time, unless you're like doing a drop punch.
Yep.
If team is covering off angles, then it's okay to stay main because you're already splitting them.
Yep.
Dump shotgun if you're close to the enemy, namely like looking at the case where you're like 5 meters away against like the bastion there. And
can I offer maybe some elaboration off of that thought, maybe to kind of give you something a little bit
yep.
more actionable?
Hmm.
I would say whenever you have ult, what might be a good exercise for you is what's the most amount of attention that I can bait out of with this ultimate? Because I can use 3 CDs now, right? So then what do I do?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You kind of
So
see what I'm saying? Like, what's the longest pressure cycle that I can provide now that I have
mhm.
ultimate?
Yeah. So I'd say milk the attention you gain
Yes.
from using ult as much as
Yes.
possible.
A, then B, then C, then A, then C, then B, then ult, then A, then C. You get what I'm saying? Like, how long can I go holding the enemy team's
Yeah.
attention with it? Not just the lethality of it, because that's the easiest low-hanging fruit, but, like, what can I do to really min-max value? Okay.
Um, a lot of times you need at least 4 shots to go in, like 4 shotgun shots, or maybe 3 if you're like gonna use a
Can I
cooldown.
offer
It's
some
gonna
feedback on
give you
that one?
one. Yeah.
Simplify your process. Axe that one. Don't worry about it. Worry about your
Okay.
trigger discipline. Don't clump. Don't clump. I say. Don't dump your clip brain off. That problem will take care of itself.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Split the team's attention, but we already addressed that earlier.
Yep.
Don't clip dump. Work on slam tracking
Yes.
and stage and look for angles,
Staging and looking for angles, not flanks.
not flanks. Okay.
Obviously,
I'll put
exceptions
that
to the
not
rule,
flanks in
right?
all caps.
Definitely
Yeah.
situations with which to flank, but I think, I've worked with a couple of Doomfists that went a little too hard on the opposite front, and they're out of fights for a long period of time, and then they take like
Yeah.
50 damage, and they're like, oh, well, I don't have a support with me. I got to go all the way back. I'm like,
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about Doom compared to like a character like Wrecking Ball, right? Wrecking Ball is like really bad tank matchups, right? Doomfist
Yeah.
is pretty solid tank matchups, right? So you can win tank trades. You can even pursue tank trades. Just do so from an angle.
Yeah. Like I feel like especially Winston is like the biggest loser against Doomfist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
Not really. I mean, I feel like my Winston and Reinhardt gameplay are getting to a point where like they're good, so I'll just see where that goes. And if I
Okay.
need further coaching or whatever hasn't worked or worked way better, but I hit a plateau or whatever, I guess I'll hit
Sure.
you up again.
The TLDR with Ryan is essentially play your short angle, right? What we talked about earlier, and then just your goal is to hit people with a hammer.
Yeah.
And or shield. Hit it with a hammer or shield them. And so where's the best place for me to do that? Where's the best angle? Where's the best lane for me to do that? And then once you're there, obviously like mechanically performing, blocking the key CDs, hitting your fire strikes, hitting your pins, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And that's really, even at the LH Cloudy level, that's all it really is.
Yeah.
That's all it really is. All right, mate. Good luck with your practice.
you.
I'll have this